Unfortunately, me and my husband Jeff, we're having a very hard time having a baby, so we decide to adopt. Everything went smooth. The baby is amazing, little Timothy. Well, the problem comes 10 years later, when Timothy's biological parents think that they can just waltz back in the picture and take him away from us. Well, I'm not going down without a fight.
Hey guys, I know that's a crazy title, right? But that's exactly what's happening here. I need some advice right now because my world's been turned upside down. First, I need to give you all some background information. It's a lot, so here we go. My husband Jeff and we've been together for a long time. Ever since we got married, we wanted a baby of our own to raise and take care of, but about a decade ago, I received the unfortunate news that I was infertile. We began looking for a surrogate mother so we could have a baby, but we were having trouble finding a suitable candidate, so my husband and I decided to go to the adoption route. At 35, we were both financially stable with high-paying chef positions at a local restaurant. So, we passed all the tests and checks just to make sure that we were right to adapt. We found a young couple who had just had a newborn and they were putting this little baby up for adoption. These two were destitute, no money, no prospects, no sign of a future. They made the difficult but correct decision to put the baby up for adoption. And me and Jeff gladly signed. We named our new baby Timothy and raised him as our own for the past decade. We have a great home life. We have a great relationship with our son, and he doesn't know he's adopted, and he loves me and Jeff with every fiber of his being. We are financially secure and do provide a great life for him. He goes to a good school, which was not easy for us to pay for, but hey, we made it work because that's how much we cared about Timothy. Now that that's out the way, that brings us to a reason I'm even here typing all this today for you. Normally, in the world of adoption, once two parents decide to give up their baby, they usually respect the adoptive family boundaries and simply stay away. If any contact is made, it's usually much later down the road, when the child's even became an adult. But not too long ago, Timmy's biological parents resurfaced after we had not heard a peep from them in a decade. And now they're trying to derail our perfect little family life any single way that they can see fit. Ziggy and Marlena are Timothy's biological parents. I'll give them some credit. They've completely turned their life around since the last time my husband and I saw them at the adoption agency all those moons ago. They're financially secure and doing very well for themselves, actually. Yet, they think this alone is just reason enough to come on and waltz on by and take little Timothy away from me and Jeff. That's right. Ziggy and Marlena first sent us a letter in the mail explaining that they want to contact Timmy, and that we should prepare to give him up. Me and Jeff thought the letter was just a prank at first, but then the phone calls start coming. I couldn't figure out how they even got our phone number. And then our cell phone numbers after that, but the harassment simply would not stop. Jeff and I both told these numbers numerous times to stop calling us, and that they were only getting our son to them in their stinking dreams. But it seemed like the harassment continued. Things began to escalate more when we started seeing signs popping up around the neighborhood, saying that me and my husband were bad parents who were keeping Timothy away from his rightful parents. I could not believe the insanity of these people. Ziggy and Marlena must have printed off hundreds of these flyers and signs and just posted them at every single street lamp, every post in the neighborhood. I called the police and tried to report them for littering. But unfortunately, there's literally no proof it was Ziggy and Marlena that did it. None of my neighbors caught them in the act, which tells me they probably did this at night, which makes it even more creepy that these two were just outside my home all night. All this drama was starting to scare the living daylights out of me and Jeff. At first, we brushed this off as the work of two pranksters, but after it became clear that this was indeed the same Ziggy and Marlena who we adopted from 10 years ago, and after the harassment and bizarreness increased, I and Jeff knew
that, oh man, we were dealing with a serious problem.
We felt like we had no other choice but to get a lawyer. Before I continue, let me give you all some background info on the lawyer that Jeff hired. Let's call him Hoss. Hoss Scoggins. In our community, just a mere mention of old Hoss Scoggins can send a shiver down somebody's spine. Depending on what type of run-in they had with the man, Scoggins is one of the most infamous and ruthless lawyers in all of the community. And he's great at what he does. He's an expensive lawyer, but he's worth every single penny, and without disclosing any details, me and Jeff have had a positive result using him in the past. It was an unrelated legal and court matter. Scoggins is so good that my husband and I have had him on retainer for years. And we knew he was the perfect guy to go after Ziggy and Marlena and show them who the boss was in this situation. Scoggins thought that simply mailing a letter to Ziggy and Marlena, warning them to cease this harassment activity or face legal repercussions, would be enough to scare them both out of town, but we all soon later learned that we're dealing with a different breed of human. While most sane people who would have taken a letter from a famous lawyer quite seriously, oh no, Ziggy and Marlena just ramped it up insanity and harassment tenfold. So guys, let me tell you about the straw that broke the camel's back now. This is what has pushed my husband and me off the deep end. And even our lawyer Scoggins is absolutely perplexed. He's a guy who doesn't scare easily, but even he was shocked by what Ziggy and Marlena did. Just a few days ago, Ziggy and Marlena actually came to my son's school and approached him on the playground. I couldn't believe it either, but guys, I'm telling you, unfortunately, it's true. Well, first, it was scary. Scary enough that Ziggy and Marlena now know enough about us to know which school my son goes to. But according to Timothy, Ziggy, and Marlena, they lured him to the fence with some candy and told him that me and Jeff are evil people who stole him away when he was a baby. Guys, he's only 10 years old. He doesn't deserve to be put in the middle of this crap, all because two crazy people decided they just want back what they legally gave up years ago. It's one thing for Ziggy and Marlena's craziness to impact my husband and me. But for those two to have the audacity to go to my son's school and mess with him, they did just everything short of telling him in plain details he's adopted, and me and Jeff are absolutely livid about this. Timothy was scared and crying, and we had to answer so many hard questions over the past few days. He doesn't know what's real anymore, all because Ziggy and Marlena are messing with his head. The worst part about this, guys? Well, Jeff and I discussed this with Scoggins and the local police department, and apparently none of the school cameras even picked up the end of the playground. To rectify the situation, the school immediately installed a camera on the end of the playground, just in case something like this ever happened again. I'm glad and all, but hey, it's a little bit too late. A camera now isn't going to help my son, because I doubt Ziggy and Marlena will be stupid enough to go back to the same spot. It seems like they knew there was no camera there. Well, at least not on that end of the playground. Which means they'll probably somehow know that a camera was built. The police and lawyers can't do anything about it, and me and my husband feel so helpless and scared. Guys, what do you think that I should do? I just want to fight to keep custody of my child, but it seems like the more my husband and I fight, the more Ziggy and Marlena ramp up their tactics of humiliation and insanity. I've never dealt with anything like this before, and I'm at the end of my rope. Even the great Hoss Scoggins seems to be a bit of a standstill as far as how to proceed with the case, because Ziggy and Marlena have been very careful not to leave concrete evidence of their harassment beyond the letters and phone calls, which, by the way, local police already said they can't do a single thing about. I just want all this to be over. Not just for me and my husband, but so Timothy can get some peace of mind and go on living the normal, happy childhood. me and Jeff have worked so hard to give him. I can't stand the thought of having my family destroyed this way. Guys, please give me any sort of input that you possibly can. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So we haven't covered a story like this yet. It could be a very horrible situation for OP to be in. There's 5 updates, so it's about to get real. Guys, only like 6% of people watching this video are subscribed to the channel. If you do want to support the channel, it helps so much if you just smash that subscribe button, and let's jump into update number 1. Hey guys, I'm back for an update. Thanks to everybody who gave words of advice and encouragement thus far. You've all been a tremendous help to my mental health, and my husband and I don't feel so alone anymore, knowing that so many of you have your backs on this issue. I wish I could say everything has been washed away, but the universe seems to keep throwing curveball after curveball at me and my husband. So, if you've read this far, you'll know that Ziggy and Marlena physically approached my son Timothy while he was at school. The police have done absolutely nothing and have essentially thrown their hands up in the air in defeat. And my lawyer, Hoss Scoggins, is working hard but struggling to find any area where he can take Ziggy and Marlena. Well, things just keep getting worse. Today, my husband and I both got phone calls from my son's school principal. The principal was requesting a meeting, which was, by the way, out of the ordinary because Timothy is a straight A student and never finds any parent-teacher conferences his way. He does his work, makes good grades, and, well, he's a good boy. Jeff and I immediately had suspicion. It's a feeling in our gut. So we tell the principal that we're busy with work and that Timothy seemed to be doing fine in school. But guys, the principal said that he insisted that this was extremely important. I wish I could tell you I was surprised by what transpired at the meeting, me, Jeff, and, well, Timothy's principal. I'm certainly angry and a bit shocked in general, but after all the stunts Ziggy and Marlena have pulled so far, I wasn't going to put anything past them. During the meeting, the principal informed me and Jeff that the school had received some alarming phone calls regarding some troubling things going on at her house. I immediately interjected to explain what had been happening with Ziggy and Marlena and our son. When the principal played one of the voicemails, we immediately recognized Ziggy and Marlena's voice. They'd called the school saying that I and Jeff were doing drugs around Timothy and sending him to school without food or even clean clothing. I could not believe the ridiculousness of all this. And, of course, the number could not be traced, so once again the police could not do anything. And my lawyer says he's backed into a corner as well, so guys, what do I do? Update number 2. Hey guys, I'm back with another update, and this time I'm just so overwhelmed and so tired of all this drama. I need to vent to you just a little bit of recent development and the crazy saga of Ziggy and Marlena. In case you're wondering, no, the police still have not done a thing to help me and Jeff. My lawyer's hands are tied because there's still no concrete proof of Ziggy and Marlena breaking the law. They're too skilled at covering their tracks, almost as if they're getting help from somebody who knows my every single move. I can't understand it. At least the school sided with me and Jeff after Ziggy and Marlena's last little stunt. And as far as we know, those two haven't messed with Timothy or the school directly since the incident. Unfortunately, the reason I'm giving this update today is that they've updated the harassment game even more than before. Well, they've previously resorted to shady, behind-the-scenes nonsense like letters and phone calls. Now they've taken the harassment to a more personal and direct level. A little background. I've mentioned my husband and I have high-paying chef positions at a local restaurant. We take our work and our reputation very seriously. After all, the restaurant provides us with our livelihood, which we use to take care of Timothy. Well, Ziggy and Marlena have taken to making daily trips to the restaurant to harass me and Jeff. They've been bad-mouthing us to the front of the house staff and other customers while inside the restaurant. My boss claims there's nothing that can be done because they're both paying customers, but they send back the food with complaint after complaint after complaint, and it holds up in the kitchen and it just messes up timing of other people's orders. Ziggy and Marlena have also taken to posting bad reviews on Google. We know it's them because all the accounts call out me and Jeff by name and mention how we like to steal people's children and ruins people's food. It is so immature. But it's stressing me out so badly. Now I can't even get a break from this nonsense at my own job. The police won't do anything because technically Ziggy and Marlena aren't trespassing. Update number 3. Hey guys, I'm back again. Well, I wish that I didn't have to keep writing these. I'm sure that you won't really be surprised to find out Ziggy and Marlena still aren't giving up. But they've done to us this time, it's something worse than what's happened before. A few days ago, me and Jeff got a knock on the door. Loudly. So we looked outside the window and saw CPS, Child Protective Services. It was a van parked in our driveway. We immediately had a feeling Ziggy and Marlena, was behind whatever nonsense we were about to endure. Sure enough, our gut feelings were correct and the CPS agent immediately starts barging into our home, starts looking around invasively. As if they thought we were just a bunch of drug users and dangers just sitting around in the open. The CPS agent explained that a photograph had been sent in by, an anonymous tipster that depicted us giving our son drugs and even alcohol. The agent, pulled the photo out of his bag and he showed it to us. Me and Jeff could not believe our eyes. The photograph was obviously made with Photoshop, but I have to admit it was very skillful of a job. Of course, me and Jeff immediately knew it wasn't real, but it was clearly convincing enough that local CPS agents felt necessary to interrogate us over what they see in their hands. Me and Jeff did our best to explain the situation at hand, but they still remained skeptical about us and they just eventually decided to leave us, but told us that they'd be continuing further and that we would be prosecuted by every single law
If we tried to skip town.
all because Ziggy and Marlena had doctored a photo trying to ruin our lives yet again. Me and Jeff don't even do drugs or drink, let alone
Hand it out to our son who's 10 years old.
Luckily, the situation smoothed over a bit, and after Hoss Scoggins initially told us that there's no way to prove the photo was created in Photoshop, me and Jeff took it upon ourselves just to take the copy of the photo to a forensic analyst, at the police department, and it was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that the photo was doctored. So, the good news here is we now have some evidence that Ziggy and Marlena doctored fake evidence and turned it in to CPS to hurt me and Jeff. The only problem is, since the tip was left anonymously, there's simply nothing to tie to the photo directly to Ziggy and Marlena.
Well, I'll tell you guys in the next update what I find out. Update number 4.
I'm shaking and crying as I type this. I feel like I'm having a mental breakdown. The stress and anguish have just gone on for too long, as if all that's gone down so far wasn't bad enough. The betrayal Jeff and I have just uncovered is almost too much to bear. So, to sum it up, the reason Hoss Scoggins has been unusually incompetent and unhelpful in this case, Well, me and Jeff found out Hoss Scoggins has been working with Ziggy and Marlena the entire time, violating his ethical code and violating the trust between clients. Me and Jeff decided to let Timothy spend some time with his grandparents for the weekend while we both went on a date. Since all this drama started a while ago, me and Jeff have been too busy and stressed to take any time for ourselves. So, we decided to go to Outback Steakhouse for a nice meal. I love their potatoes. What we saw in the restaurant shook our worlds. Hoss Scoggins. It was our lawyer himself right there, and sitting at the table drinking and laughing.
Ziggy and Marlena.
Me and Jeff walked right past the Outback hostess and approached the table and demanded an explanation of what exactly was going down. Scoggins kept telling us not to make a scene and that he could explain, but the more me and Jeff screamed at him, Scoggins eventually just started saying, "I plead the fifth." Ziggy and Marlena just sat in silence, staring at us smugly as if they've won some sort of battle. So, me and Jeff Scoggins now, We let him know right then and there that we would be seeking another lawyer. Suddenly, everything made sense.
This was why Ziggy and Marlena had our contact information. It's how they knew our schedule, where we worked, where our son went to school, everything.
Scoggins was telling them the entire time. Here's the problem. Guys, we've spent so much money on Scoggins already, I'm not sure what we can do. If Ziggy and Marlena have Scoggins on their side somehow, how can we win? I don't think we can.
Update number 5. I'm back for the final update.
I finally have some good news to share. Let me preface this by saying I would not be typing this today if not for all the help and support from you guys. The great advice I've received from here has saved my family and allowed me and Jeff to keep our son and put an end to all this nonsense once and for all. So, I took everybody's advice from the last update and decided to sue. Yeah, I'm suing Scoggins. I found a rival lawyer who was willing to take on the case, on contingency, of course. Free, pro bono.
He just wanted to take down Scoggins.
We had all the proof of his unethical violations of the lawyer code. Turns out we already had all that and the means to tie Ziggy and Marlena to crimes as well. Scoggins had not been forthcoming about the facts of the case and tried to downplay every single bit of evidence that we got. So the police would not take us seriously. Our new lawyer fought very hard for us. Let me tell you, the court date was one of the most satisfying days of my life. I seriously can't even begin to describe the overwhelming sense of relief my husband and I felt as the judge sentenced his gavel down for Scoggins, Ziggy, and Marlena right there in front of everybody. Scoggins won't practice law in our community ever again, and Ziggy and Marlena are going to be in jail. After all their efforts, the family was the one that was broken up. Well, it serves them right. It was revealed in court that Scoggins and Ziggy are cousins, so Scoggins used a very liberal interpretation of the law code to justify helping us both. You see, the judge did not take his defense very seriously. The man tried to defend himself and his clients in court, and he failed miserably, and guys, it was so great to watch. To wrap things up for all you, me and Jeff packed our bags and took Timothy with us. After dealing with an incompetent police force, a crooked lawyer, and losing a chunk of our lives to the stress and harassment of Ziggy and Marlena,
my family just wanted to get far away from this town.
Timothy's going to a new school district. He loves it, and he's doing very well, as usual since, he is a good boy. Me and Jeff are finally getting some time to relax and just remember why we fell in love together in the first place. The situation was rough, but it made my family's bond even stronger. And now we know we can get through any hardship. Thank you guys for everything.
Well, all I can say is I'm glad that lawyer got what he deserved, because that's a really crooked and evil, toxic thing to do. I'm glad that he lost his license because he deserved to. And all the things that, the biological parents were doing in this story, it was so crazy how the cops could not do anything about it. I mean, they literally went to the school and hid in the blind spot of the camera. Who does that? Who even thinks to do that? Guys, let me know your thoughts about this story. If you were in OP's position and you adopted a baby and 10 years later all this goes down, how do you even handle it? I think the situation would be very hard to deal with, but I would love to hear from you guys. Maybe somebody listening to this is adopted. Maybe somebody's reunited with their biological mom or dad from a long time ago. Let us know your experience. Thank you for joining me on today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Guys, just a quick second. About 5 or 6% of people watching this video are subscribed to the channel. It really helps support if you click that subscribe button. It only takes a second and it does help out a lot. Guys, have a great day and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.